Good morning and welcome to Morning Special, your morning energy. I'm your special host, Jennifer Clyde. 7월 27일 수요일 모닝 헤드라인으로 시작하겠습니다. South Korea's new COVID-19 cases bounced back to nearly 100,000 on Tuesday, the largest number of daily cases reported since late April. Russia's Gazprom has announced a drastic cut to gas deliveries to Europe through its main pipeline due to maintenance work, cutting daily gas production to 20% of capacity. The freezing point above the Swiss Alps has reached new heights, smashing the previous record set 27 years ago by a whopping 70 meters. A chess-playing robot broke a 7-year-old boy's finger during a match at the Moscow Chess Open in Russia last week. Saudi Arabia is planning to spend up to $1 trillion to build the world's largest structure that will house 5 million people in a new desert city.
South Korea's new COVID-19 cases bounced back to nearly 100,000 on Tuesday, the largest number of daily cases reported since late April.
어제 약 10만 명에 가까운 확진자가 발생하면서 지난 4월 말 이후로 1일 코로나19 확진자 수가 최고치를 기록했습니다. Wow, so we're seeing very high numbers again. Tell us more about it.
Yeah, absolutely. Korea has seen a spike in the daily cases thanks to the rapid spread of the Omicron subvariant BA.5. Tuesday's count of 99,327 is more than double the previous day's 35,883 and the largest number since 111,291 that was reported way back April 20th. On Tuesday, South Korea added 17 deaths from COVID-19, putting the death toll at 24,907. The number of critically ill patients came to 168. That's up 24 from the previous day as well.
Yeah, so this is scary once again. I think at one point people stopped counting the numbers or checking the number of positive cases. But I think especially with people now traveling overseas or beginning to travel overseas and people going on trips over the holidays or the weekends. They return and then get tested positive.
Yeah, there have been a lot of people traveling in particular that have reported to receiving COVID-19. I know friends that have come back through the airport and then tested positive. So I think travelers, it is an issue, but I think it's also mindset because you have people, it's not as scary as it was 2 years ago or maybe even a year ago where it was like, oh no, I don't want to get COVID. And there was this fear. Yeah. But it seems like, people don't fear it as much as they did 2 years ago. Obviously, nobody still wants to get it. I don't want to get it. I still haven't gotten it. But at the same time...
Knock on wood.
Yeah, it certainly isn't the same fear that, I had for it 2 years ago. But yeah, please, still, don't want it.
Yeah, the fear we're talking about. 정말 처음을 생각을 했을 때는 굉장히 좀 공포를 느꼈던 것 같아요. 근데 어느 정도 좀 익숙해졌는지 확진자 수를 카운트하는 것도 좀 덜 신경 쓰는 것 같긴 하지만 but yeah, definitely the new COVID-19 cases have bounced back. So let's take a look at this expression, to bounce back. What does that mean?
Yeah, when something bounces, I think of a basketball because I think sports for everything.
Yeah.
But when a ball bounces, it's going down, it hits the ground, and then it goes back up. And in the same sort of way, the number of reported cases before was on April 20, for example, was over 100,000. And all of a sudden, it's gone down since April. And then as of yesterday, it bounced back up. So while it went down and then all of a sudden, it's usually a sharp bounce. When you think of a bounce, it's not like a gradual going up, but it's kind of like a ting It goes back up in a hurried way. And that's what happened yesterday with the number of cases.
As a ball would bounce back up quite quickly, right?
Exactly.
So it was April, I guess. I thought we suffered the worst Omicron outbreak earlier this year in March. But I guess it was April.
April was the last time that the numbers were over 100,000.
I see.
So, yeah.
bounce back이라고 하면은 뭐 되돌아오다, 다시 돌아오다, 혹은 뭐 긍정적으로 사용됐을 때는 뭐 다시 회복하다라는 뜻도 있지만 다시 이제 튕겨오르다라고 생각을 하시면 될 것 같아요. 이제 공을 연상하시면 될 것 같은데 공을 막 튕기면은 아래로 떨어졌다가 다시 위로 바로 그 자리로 되돌아오잖아요. 자, 그런 식으로 해서 the cases have bounced back to nearly 100,000 on Tuesday.
Yeah, and it doesn't necessarily always have to be just numbers.
Right.
Like in some cases, you can say like, I think of Hollywood actors, like let's say John Travolta in Grease and some of his movies that he did back in the day. His career went down for a while, but then he bounced back with some other movies in the 80s after kind of having disappeared for a while. So sometimes you'll see artists or actors or singers have a bounce back in their career. Or some athletes, might have been really good. They'll be all-star athletes, and then maybe they have an injury, they don't do so well, but then they bounce back later in their career.
Okay, is it similar to comeback?
Yeah, absolutely.
Right?
Yep.
In Korea, 한국에서는 왜 컴백했다 많이 하잖아요. 그러니까 뭐 배우가 됐던, 뭐 스포츠 선수가 됐던, 운동 선수가 됐던, 막 한참 막 인기를 끌다가 잠시 잠잠했다가 다시 이렇게 화면에 나타나거나 다시 경기를 뛰기 시작할 때 그때도 뭐 사용을 할 수도 있겠네요. Okay. Can we read it one more time?
Yes. So South Korea's new COVID-19 cases bounced back to nearly 100,000 on Tuesday, the largest number of daily cases reported since late April.
And let's move on to the second headline.
Russia's Gazprom has announced a drastic cut to gas deliveries to Europe through its main pipeline due to maintenance work, cutting daily gas production to 20% of capacity.
러시아 가스프롬이 가스관 정비를 이유로 유럽으로 공급되는 천연가스 1일 물량을 전체 용량의 20% 수준으로 대폭 줄였습니다. So tell us about this.
Yeah, Gazprom said on Monday that it was halting the operation of another turbine in the Nord Stream 1 pipeline due to the technical condition of the engine. Now, this will have the current supply, which has already been reduced to just 40% of capacity. The European Union has accused Russia of resorting to energy blackmail, while the Kremlin says the gas disruption has been caused by maintenance issues and the effect of Western sanctions. The German government said there was no technical reason to limit gas supply, and Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky accused Moscow of waging a gas war.
So it was said on Monday that it was halting the operation, right?
Yeah, to stop, essentially.
Right, stop. halt 하면 멈추다, 뭐 중단시키다라는 뜻인데요. 또 여기 보면은 Russia's Gazprom has announced a drastic cut to gas deliveries.
Yeah, not just a cut, but a drastic cut. And when something is drastic, it's significant. It's sudden. It's bigger than you want, or like an extreme change of some sort.
Right. cut라고 하면은 자르다, 뭐 줄이다라는 뜻이 있지만 drastic이 붙어서 대폭 삭감되다, 뭐 과감한, 과격한의 뜻인 drastic을 함께 사용을 해서 대폭 삭감하였다. 라는 식으로 이해를 하시면 될 것 같아요. For example, you could say that there was a drastic change, which means a very extreme change, right?
Absolutely.
As well?
You might say something like a drastic change in the weather. For instance, it was sunny, and then all of a sudden it started pouring with rain because the weather changed drastically, or it was a drastic change.
그렇죠. 날씨에도 사용할 수 있겠네요. All right, can we have it one more time?
Russia's Gazprom has announced a drastic cut to gas deliveries to Europe through its main pipeline due to maintenance work, cutting daily gas production to 20% of capacity.
And now, today's third headline.
The freezing point above the Swiss Alps has reached new heights, smashing the previous record set 27 years ago by a whopping 70 meters.
스위스 알프스산맥의 빙점 고도가 27년 만에 무려 70m나 높아지면서 종전 기록을 깼습니다. Wow, the freezing point has reached new heights. And we're talking about, a whopping 70 meters.
That's right. And it's not just 5 meters or 10 meters, but it is a whopping 70 meters. So when something is whopping or it's a big amount. You know, there's a fast food burger chain in Korea that, calls one of their burgers a Whopper. And the reason it's a Whopper is because it's big. It's bigger
right?
than a normal burger. It's not just a burger. It's a huge, gigantic burger, which is why it's described as a Whopper.
Oh, so a big burger. 그렇군요. 그러니까 whopping이라고 하면은 좀 과장된 표현이기는 하나 굉장히 큰, 무려 엄청난 이런 뜻이기 때문에 by a whopping 70 meters라고 하면 무려 70m나 이란 뜻이 되는 거죠. So give us more details about this.
Yeah, so an automated weather balloon had to rise 5,184 meters above the Swiss Alps before it found temperatures at freezing point, according to Switzerland's meteorological agency on Monday. It is extremely rare for the freezing point to be measured above 5,000 meters in Europe. The agency explained that this is a record smasher, breaking the previous record of 5,117 meters set in July of 1995. It is also 375 meters above the summit of Europe's highest peak, Mont Blanc, in the French Alps.
자, the freezing point에 대해서 이야기를 하고 있는데 freezing point라고 하면 빙점, 동결점이라는 말인데요. The normal freezing points I read are about maybe 3,000 to 3,500. So perhaps climate change is to blame?
Yeah, I mean, that's the talk, right? Of course, the higher you go in elevation, the colder it gets, which is why mountain peaks have glaciers and are white,
right.
Where the lower part of mountains are not. So when you're talking about elevation, the higher you go, the colder it gets. And in this particular case, they're saying that you got to go even higher to reach that 0 degrees Celsius or the freezing point.
Yeah, and imagine all the animals that depend on the cold. They're going to end up migrating higher and higher. And, ice is melting rapidly as well.
Absolutely. And also, if you go to visit, I mean, it's a tourist area as well. So I think the other thing that scares me is, what about the tourists down the road 5-10 years later where they go, you want to see the mountains with the snow-capped mountains, the white tips, but later on it's just bare.
Yeah.
Because everything's melted and the ice is gone. And obviously, a lot of lakes depend on the glaciers to feed them slowly.
Yeah.
Whereas if you don't have the glaciers feeding the water slowly and gradually, then, lakes could be disappearing as well.
That's true.
So certainly an environmental issue for sure.
Yeah, a sad reality. Let's have it one more time.
The freezing point above the Swiss Alps has reached new heights, smashing the previous record set 27 years ago by a whopping 70 meters.
And now here is the fourth headline.
A chess-playing robot broke a 7-year-old boy's finger during a match in Russia last week.
지난주 러시아에서 개최된 체스 경기 도중에 체스를 두는 로봇이 7살 아이의 손가락을 부러뜨리는 사고가 발생했습니다. Ouch. Tell us more about this.
Yeah, the incident took place at the Moscow Chess Open and happened after the boy hurried the AI-powered robot, according to the president of the Moscow Chess Federation. Now, video shows the boy attempting to make a move before the robot's arm had retracted after its move. The robot's mechanical claw then grabbed the boy's index finger for at least 15 seconds before several bystanders helped to free the child's hand and take him away from the table. Luckily, the boy continued to compete in the tournament after after his finger was put in a cast. And he is actually reportedly one of the top 30 chess players in Moscow under the age of 9.
Yeah, he's only 7 years old, right? So this happened during a match.
Yeah, during a match. So while the match was taking place or in a match, you could say when something is during, it's while it's happening. And they're playing chess and he reaches for a chess piece and all of a sudden the robot, it grabs him. I'm sure it must have been shocking to him at first.
Oh, yeah.
And then after that, pain probably coming in and then the realization of what's actually happening here.
Right. He had a cast on his finger. 자, 여기서 during a match라고 하면은 경기 도중에란 뜻이죠. 그래서 match라고 하면은 it's basically 뭐 경기라고 알고 계시지만 it can be any sort of game, like any organized game such as a soccer match, a tennis match, and any other sport.
Yeah, any kind of a game of some sort where there's a winner and a loser is the way I would put it.
All right, let's go over the final headline for today.
I'll read that over.
Oh, sorry.
Yep. A chess-playing robot broke a 7-year-old boy's finger during a match in Russia last week.
And now the final headline.
Saudi Arabia is planning to spend up to $1 trillion to build the world's largest structure that will house 5 million people in a new desert city.
사우디아라비아가 새로운 사막 도시에 1조 달러, 우리 돈 약 1,300조 원을 들여 500만 명을 수용할 수 있는 세계에서 가장 큰 빌딩을 건설할 예정입니다. Wow, tell us about this. Amazing.
Yeah, the structure known as the Mirror Line will be comprised of 2 glass reflective buildings measuring up to 488 meters high. Now, for reference sake, the Lotte World Tower in Chamsil is 555 meters, so a little bit shorter than that, and it's 200 meters wide. Now, the building in Saudi Arabia will run parallel for 120 kilometers across coastal, mountain, and desert terrain. The 2 buildings will be connected via walkways and a high-speed train will run underneath. The structure is projected to house 5 million people who will be able to travel end-to-end within a 20-minute commute with no need for cars, resulting in 0 carbon emissions. It is expected to take 50 years to complete and will be located in the northwest of the country in the zero-carbon city of Neom.
Wow. So it's expected to take 50 years to complete?
50 years. Yeah, so I'm not going to be alive to see that probably.
Oh, come on. I was wondering. Completed. I was thinking the same thing. 50년 후쯤 돼야 이제 뭐.
Yeah, my kids will be able to go and check it out someday
yeah,
perhaps.
That's what I thought too. 제가 50년 후에 이걸 볼 수 있을까요? Well, I hope to be able to, see it.
Yeah.
50 years later. Or who knows, it could be completed before that because I think they were hoping to finish by 2030. I mean, I've seen tons of articles on this and they all give different dates. But one article said it could take as long as 50 years. 50년까지도 걸릴 수 있겠다라는 이야기. 네.
Yeah, and I'm sure parts of it will be done well before that. It's just a matter of, in terms of the complete project, when they expect that to be done by.
Yes, and it's going to house 5 million people. So house in this case, it's not house, it's house 5 million people.
That's right. Sorry. Well, when you think of house, then you think of a noun, right? Like a place where you live. Now, when you're using house, same spelling, as a verb, it's more of, how many people can live there as opposed to the place or the building that you live in. It's talking about living in somewhere where someone resides. Okay. And it's housing up to 5 million people. It can essentially, it can hold
as many as 5 million people.
Have as many as 5 million people live there.
Live there.
Essentially.
That's right, Jose. So house 5 million people. Let's take a listen to it one more time.
Sorry, I've lost my spot here. There it is. Saudi Arabia is planning to spend up to $1 trillion to build the world's largest structure that will house 5 million people in a new desert city.
And that does it for today's morning special headlines, everyone.